Hi there, welcome to Isle on Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Pisces energy, and we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives because it's not a personal reading and I don't know your life. So we're just going to see how different people what energies are available in Pisces energy, and how different people would use this energy depending on if they harness like high vibe Pisces energy, or a more worldly focused Pisces energy, or a more shadowy Pisces energy. You know, Pisces is emotional water sign energy, and it is about our hopes and our dreams, but we got to realize some people's dream of the ideal relationship is them being immature and indulgent and prideful and egotistical and abusive and self-defensive, and the whole gamut for some. And we got to see the truth of that not everybody's motivated and inspired by love. If you do love, you gotta discipline yourself. Gotta grow up. Can't be just about yourself. You're supposed to treat others the way you like to be treated. And some people don't want to do love because they've been hurt before, so now they could be making their life either about hiding the fact that they just want to indulge themselves in relationships, or they maybe make their life more about indulging in things of the world. So we all tap into Pisces energy, listen to where you're at in the story and where other people in your life are at in the story. Okay, we start out with two cards not showing themselves. And the reason they came out is because Great Fortune Child. And the end of the reading is the Empress card, Privileged Lady. The feminines in tarot can be about how we think and we feel, and the masculine energy can be how we take action in the world, because we can all take action in the world and present ourselves any way we want, and people don't know the truth of who we really are emotionally. Then at the end of the story, we have the Empress card and the Gift, but underneath the Gift is the Despair card and the Coffin. Some people kind of gave up on their dreams, and so then they could be in shadowy energy, where instead of aligning with their more just, fair, balanced, loving nature, their more shadowy nature is running their life. And in that energy, it can be where it is, I might present myself as loving, but I'm really maybe materialistic or want to be indulged in a relationship, because in my worldly, more egoic nature, I have issues from my past that I haven't dealt with, and I might not want to deal with them. And I might have decided I would prefer to live a more emotionally shallow, superficial life. And I'm not willing to put in the work and effort to heal from past pain and heartbreak and my self-limiting beliefs. So I present myself, some people are presenting themselves in the world as poor, pitiful me. I'm so sad that something ended in my life. And that can be how they present themselves, but they're really emotionally creating that facade to try to get that if they make an offer to other people, those people will maybe feel sorry for them. And the whole purpose of them making an offer to someone to get someone to be in a relationship with them is either to make that person responsible for healing them. They could be looking for a mother, whether they're a male or a female. It's like, I'm looking for someone to be a loving, nurturing person to me, because basically I don't want to put in the work and effort to heal from past pain and heartbreak, to detach from it. If we were to put in work and effort and accept the gift of love and learn to love ourselves, we could work through that past pain and heartbreak in order, in the Death card, to emotionally detach from it and transform our life. But some people could have been kind of shadowy in a prior relationship, and because of that, a relationship could have ended. And instead of doing the work within themselves to heal and learn the lessons we were meant to learn from that, some people just decided, I'm not going to deal with it. I'm going to keep in my more egoic nature, present myself as a just and fair and stable and grounded and loving person to try to get the next person to get in a relationship with me. But if they haven't realized and seen the truth about why these relationships didn't work out in the past, we're going to repeat an old pattern. Some people haven't healed from a mother wound, and they might think, I don't have to deal with it. I don't want to see the truth of it. I don't want to deal with my emotions about it. I just want to bury it, not deal with it. I'll go get in another relationship. I'm sure everything will be fine. But the whole thing is that they haven't healed from it. Those wounds are still there, and those wounds affect the decisions they make. And even if they get in relationships with loving people, they could reject those people if they have mother wounds. And I think subconsciously they'll be drawn and attracted to getting into relationships with people who are like that. Because in order to move forward in life, the truth sets us free. And if we try to bury the truth and ignore the truth, we'll reject loving people. We'll go get in relationships with people who subconsciously could remind us of those people, because it is, we might not think of it that way, but it is an attempt to deal with those things that we haven't wanted to deal with. And I think subconsciously, with the divine and the way the world is set up, if we don't free ourselves with love, we will repeat some old patterns in order, and we'll keep repeating them until we learn the lesson we were meant to learn, to see the truth. And if people have been prideful, egotistical, materialistic, want to be pampered in a relationship, and that's why some relationships could have ended, and they don't want to deal with the truth, they're going to keep repeating that pattern, being driven and motivated to be indulged, to be coddled, to be materialistic. And they're going to have either relationships end on them because people see the truth of who they are, or they are going to get in relationships with people who might be willing to indulge them in their shadow nature because of the money or the materialism or the status or the image. And it's not a relationship based on love. And for some people, they could have thought that was their dream relationship. If they don't want to do love, because in order to do love, they'd have to heal from this past pain and heartbreak that kind of manipulates them and makes them fearful of love, well, then they're kind of aligning with their more, I'm going to indulge in the world mentality. I think that's just and fair, where I live a more emotionally shallow, superficial life, and then they can get in relationships with people who are happy to be in a relationship with them being that way. And it's not everything they thought it was going to be cracked up to be. Well, now I have all these things, but I don't have love. It's dead. There's no love here. Well, we thought that's what we wanted. Are we willing to put an end to that and transform our life and do the work to heal and grow and mature ourselves because we do want to be in relationships based on love? Sometimes people will repeat a pattern because it's just their comfort zone. Like if you're used to being in a relationship with people who are bossy or controlling, say, to be in relationships with people who treat you the way you treat them, that's weird. It's this is uncomfortable. I'm not used to being in relationships with people who treat me this way. And part of it, we can be a loving person, but we reject loving people because we're not used to being in relationships with people who treat us with love. And that can be a pattern we repeat over and over until we see the truth of it. Why don't I think I deserve to be in relationships with people who treat me with love? And again, it can be part of our pattern. Well, I'm used to being in a relationship with people who are unjust or unfair or unkind or unloving. Well, why? That needs to come to an end because it's hurtful. And it's like, why don't I think I deserve to be in an equally loving, just, and fair and balanced relationship? And then we need to work through it. And it probably is based on some past pain and heartbreak or self limiting beliefs, not loving ourselves to think we deserve love. But again, loving people can be loving to other people, but they get in relationships with people who don't treat them the way they treat others. And it's like, why? That needs to come to an end. So, sounds like that'll be some of the conversation we're having in the story today. When we realize what a blessing like our more hopeful, believing, loving nature is, and we learn to love ourselves, that's when we can transform our life from kind of being in poverty and lack mentality to exchanging our more immature, codependent, fearful, insecure nature and love ourselves. But until we realize, because we're in the animal kingdom and our base human nature can be like, you know, immature, impulsive, reckless, selfish, greedy, self centered. I want all the toys. Everybody should make life all about me, very egotistical, egocentric. And our base nature can be very hurtful and unkind. And, there's all these lessons people have to learn in life in order to learn how to play nice with others in a just and fair and loving and respectful manner, to treat other people the way they like to be treated. And some people have learned more of those lessons through life than some other people. And we read in the newspaper about people who treat their own family members and spouses and children and parents atrociously, you know? So, what do we love? And what I wanted to get to with that is that our more base nature also can be kind of living more from our mind than our heart. And I'm just going to use my emotions and my feelings and my charm and my sexuality, which were given to us as gifts. That's kind of what the pages and things can be about in tarot. Those are things given to us as a gift to use to make us not be an animal. I am creative and inspired. I am this emotionally complex human being. I do have this inspiration and creative and sexual nature about me. And I do have my energy and my effort that I can put into the world to build things. And the whole thing is, are we going to use those things in a selfish manner? I want money. I want status. I want image. I'm going to use my emotional nature in a manipulative way. It's like abusing our own inner child nature that were given to us as a gift to not make us an animal. And some people still act like an animal and they abuse the gifts that they were given, abuse their own inner child nature. I'm just going to use my emotions to get what I want. I'm going to use my sexuality to get what I want. I'm going to use my mind and my creativity and imagination to try to manipulate people to get what I want. Well, some of the shadowy people who are like that, they've had some high vibe people leave their life because the high vibe people found out the truth, that these people harness these energies in a shadowy way. House and distant horizons, which is kind of like the dream and imagination card. We can get in relationships with people and we can think we're on the same page. We have that hopeful, believing nature. And then we realize that how people in their foundation plan to move forward, and Pisces energy that we can all tap into, and we all do, is about how we imagine our future and what our dreams are and what our dream relationship and life is like. And that's where we can realize that we harness these energies differently. What I'm motivated and inspired by is different than what you're motivated and inspired by. What your dream relationship is like and what my idea of a dream relationship like is different. And some high vibe people who believe in justice and fairness and truth and love and character and integrity could have gotten in some relationships with some people who really indulge their more emotionally immature nature. And some of the high vibe people think those people live in fantasy land because they could be all about themselves. And they didn't show that aspect about themselves when they got in a relationship with someone. And the thing is, as human beings, we tend to think that, we meet people, things seem to be going okay, we tend to think that other people think like us and that if they were kind of in similar situations like we were, that they would make similar decisions like we would make. Truth, love, justice, fairness, and the other people are like, I'm kind of more about me. And I kind of have these illusions about what it means to be in a relationship with someone. And I kind of thought you would just keep indulging me in my more immature, lazy, prideful, egotistical, fearful, insecure, codependent, emotionally defensive nature. And because of that, some high vibe people realized we view life differently. And I love myself, and I'm not going to stay in a relationship with someone who seems to kind of live in fantasy land about what it means to be in a relationship with people. And I'm leaving your life. And some of the people who continue to emotionally indulge their more immature nature, who don't want to see the truth about themselves, want to stay in denial of the truth, aren't telling the truth about why those people left their life, and they continue to hide from people the truth. That their foundation kind of has these illusions about how they view relationships and what their dream relationship looks like. So then we have the Five of Pentacles. Well, the poverty card and the unexpected income, which is like the Five of Pentacles, and the Six of Pentacles, which has to do with people's philosophy of life. And the reason they came out is because of expectation and official person. So the shadowy people align with their more worldly view of life. They've kind of maybe exchanged their more emotional nature, which would be their more creative, inspired, loving nature, with operating from their ego, and they let their ego kind of run their life. And, some of these people who have these illusions about what a relationship's supposed to be like people are supposed to indulge me in a relationship. People are supposed to want to invest in me. I'm always the one left out in the cold. They don't see the truth about why those relationships didn't work out. And part of it might be because they think maybe if they present themselves in this certain way in the world, look at me, look at my status, look at my image, look how attractive I am, look what I wear, look what I drive, blah, 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 blah. Look how charming I am. Look how much social clout I have. You should want to be in a relationship with me, don't you? Some of those people are feeling left out in the cold because other people did exchange being in a relationship with them to love themselves. Those people had offered those people love, encouragement to love and believe in themselves, but they kept like, oh, no, I don't have to do that work. There's going to be someone who comes in my life who's going to love me. High vibe energy is learning to love yourself and realize the answer lies within you. in our more immature codependent nature, we look outside of ourselves to things in the world to be the answer. So some people can get caught up in drugs or alcohol or gambling or sex addiction or another relationship because they don't realize that the answer lies within them, and they think they have to find the answer outside of themselves. So they give those things outside of themselves a lot of power in their life because those things are supposed to be the answer. And for some people, it is drugs and alcohol and all those things. For other people, they're like looking for someone to be the mother like that they never had in life, but they could have a hard problem finding someone who's willing to kind of indulge them in this kind of more egotistical, immature way. This is a small child, this is not much of an older child, and some people really haven't grown too much, emotionally. A high vibe Empress energy would be someone who's went out and learned all these lessons in life, probably because they drove their life off into the ditch learning those lessons. And you got to learn the hard way. It's like, oh shit, that was too far in that direction. you know in high vibe, it's kind of like, love is what helps unify us. And I have this thing up there on the wall that shows all the zodiac signs. We can tap into our emotional nature, our thinking, logical, creative, inspired nature, our worldly traits and characteristics. But in high vibe energy, love is what unifies us so that we're kind of able to stay balanced in the center of our life. And when we need to tap into our emotions and our creativity, we're able to tap into those things without going out to the edge. But we had to learn lessons in it. So, like, a lot of us drove our life off into the ditch because we let our heart run our life and our more emotional nature. And in tarot, this is Kipper deck, but similar to tarot. But like in tarot, we have the four elements we deal with: the heart, the mind, our worldly ways of being and things we need to take care of in the world, and our more worldly nature. And then we have kind of our more creative, inspired nature and our sexual nature and all those things. So kind of like body, mind, and spirit. But sometimes we'll throw our life way out of balance because we gave too much precedence and importance to one aspect of our being. Like, I let my heart run my life and my friendships and my relationships and my thought process, and everything went out the window because I gave too much precedence to letting my heart run my life. And it's just part of life. Then we learn, shit, that was way too far. That totally threw my life out of balance. And then we learn that if we learn that lesson, we learn that we can't do that anymore. And if we let our mind and our ego, our defensive nature run our life, well, then that can throw a lot of things in our life into the ditch because we weren't operating from this more loving, cohesive, balanced way of being. And it's just part of learning life. And some people have learned a lot of lessons in life, and they are very emotionally mature and nurturing. Oh, let me turn down the camera. They are very emotionally mature and nurturing. And sometimes those people can get into relationships with people because those people do present themselves as being like the official person of their life. Like they're much more mature and stable and grounded and balanced than they maybe really are. And, loving, nurturing people can be very loving and encouraging to people. And then they can get in relationships, which is kind of what Taurus energy is about, and the Six of Pentacles, and which is kind of this unexpected income card. We can get where we're exchanging time, energy, effort, and resources with them. And we're expecting one day, for them to step into the spotlight of their own life and quit letting their ego run their life, quit letting their more emotionally defensive nature run their life. And we get in those relationships and, we're sad because what we wanted to have come into reality didn't come into reality. And part of the reason is because we all have this dualistic nature. We have free will to put in the work and effort to offset our more immature, indulgent, prideful, selfish, greedy, self-centered nature, to put in work and effort to grow up and mature ourselves. And we also have the free will to offer ourselves love and compassion and forgiveness for the mistakes we've made, that other people have made in our life, that made us maybe hurt us, didn't work with us cooperatively, were hurtful, unkind, emotionally shallow, superficial, intimidating, controlling. And we just offer them love too. That, you know, we're all human beings in this world trying to navigate this world of duality with our dualistic nature. Some people learn some more lessons than other people have learned, and that's where we offer people love and compassion for them being a fallible human being like we are. And sometimes we don't know what some of those people went through and why they are the way they are. I think if most people were free to be authentically themselves in the world and not be plagued by their fear and their insecurity and their pride and their ego and their more immature, indulgent, lustful, greedy nature, I think they would be. But it does take learning lessons in life, sometimes the hard way. And it can, I think the hardest lesson to learn is to love yourself. That I can go have this feeling left out in the cold, and I can get in relationships with people hoping one day everybody will choose to be just and fair and loving. But there comes a point in time, if we're in relationships with people and we're being loving and encouraging and supportive, and they're not choosing to align with that energy, they're not aligned with life-giving energy. Our shadow nature is kind of represented by the devil. There's no life-giving, loving energy there. And we can all be in that energy because we haven't learned to love ourselves. And so it's like, am I going to keep investing in a workplace friendship, love relationship where the other people aren't choosing to put in the work and effort to free themselves from what imprisons them? And then I keep staying in a relationship where I'm not being treated the way I treat other people. That's kind of an injustice. And, like the death card kind of, well, the coffin card, similar to the death card in tarot, is kind of like a universal card. Something will probably happen because the divine doesn't like an injustice in the world, And sometimes the love that we have for people can keep us staying emotionally invested in those people for a long time. And that is Scorpio energy, where we have these deep emotional attachments to people. And it can take a long time for us to emotionally heal from that and be able to emotionally detach from people. But it's the energy of love that helps us heal, so that, I can have hope and faith and belief that people will grow up and mature themselves, that they might get out of their lack mentality, they might get out of their defensiveness, they might get out of their more materialistic view of life, because we need more people who are being more just and fair and balanced and not being manipulated by the world and other people and their ego. Because if they're aligned with their more shadowy nature, they're probably going to be in a relationship with people who are happy that they live their life that way for their own prideful, egotistical, materialistic, fearful, codependent ways of being. And some people just want to keep living life the way they've lived it, because in order to step out of their comfort zone and live life differently, they would have to quit focusing on the past, and they'd have to do the work to heal from the past so that they don't keep repeating this pattern where they don't ever kind of like grow and mature themselves or face their fears and insecurities. And you know, they could have some loving people who distance themselves from them and quit being in relationship with them, because either they're kind of materialistic and think for some, it can be some people do have status and image and money and materialism or whatever in the world, and then they think, I don't have to deal with my issues. There's going to be other people in the world who have hope and faith and belief in their dreams that might have a foundation that didn't work out the way they wanted it to, and they feel left out in the cold. And I bet those people come get in a relationship with me. They'll view me as loving. And some people only like to be in relationships with people who feel left out in the cold, that, their dreams didn't come into reality the way they thought, and maybe they haven't learned to love and believe in themselves, and maybe they're looking for someone who presents themselves as loving that they can go get in a relationship. And to those people, just like some of us, when we got in relationships with people like that, it seemed like a gift come true. Like, oh my gosh, this person is offering to exchange time, energy, effort, hugs, and kisses with me. And they appear to be harnessing high vibe Libra Taurus energy, that they're just and fair and loyal and committed and stable and grounded and of good character. So then you get in a relationship with them, and while people can get in a relationship with them, some of those people do this work within themselves to get over the past and childhood pain and heartbreak, or other people that they've been in a relationship with who left them in regret and made them feel left out in the cold, and like they maybe, whatever. But the thing is, if people harness this energy in a shadowy way, and they get in relationships with people who might not be in the best place emotionally when they get in the relationship, if those people are people, though, that do have hope and faith and belief and love, eventually they put in this work and effort within themselves to get more balance within themselves. They don't want to keep feeling left out in the cold. They don't want to keep feeling rejected. They don't want to keep staying in thoughts and emotions of negativity. And they do this work within themselves to love themselves and kind of get back up on their feet again. And then when they get back up on their feet again, they could still view the person that they're in a relationship as loving and loyal and committed and all those things. But then the person they're in a relationship is sad. Well, you're not codependent on me anymore. Now you want to end this dynamic where I'm like the parent and you're the child, or I'm like the student and you're the teacher. Now you want to do more of an equal give and take loving relationship. And it's like, oh, I have a problem with that. I like to be in this kind of relationship. And that can be when the relationship or the friendship ends, because they like to view themselves as loving, and when they get in relationships with people, they can seem very just and fair and loyal and committed and loving. But it's just to kind of look for people who seem to be like hopeful, believing, loving people, because they like to be in relationships with hopeful, believing, loving people. But it's kind of like they like them to keep being sad about the past. You keep being hopeful, believing in loving, and be in a relationship with me. View me as loving, and I'll be loving in return to you. But only as long as you stay not believing in yourself. Don't listen to your intuition. Don't heal from past pain and heartbreak. Don't grow and mature yourself. Don't start like loving and believing in yourself and wanting more, where you like grow to your full potential, because I don't grow to my full potential. I like to view myself as loving, but in order for me to be in a more balanced, just and fair relationship with you, I would have to heal from some of my past pain and heartbreak and some of my self-limiting beliefs, and I could have kind of been indulging myself in this relationship. People can present themselves as loving and stable and grounded, but it's really kind of emotionally shallow and superficial. It's kind of more about them kind of being indulged, and it can be kind of like communist China, where it's like, don't believe there's a higher truth or justice to aspire to in the world. If I tell you something's just and fair, it's just and fair. If I tell you this is the way you should live your life because this is the way I live my life, then you should believe that that's the way you should live your life too. Don't listen to your own intuition. Don't listen to your own inspiration about what you think is just and fair. If I say something's just and fair, it's just and fair. And if I say this is how you should live your life, that's how you should live your life. And for a long time, when people can get in relationships with people like that, those people could seem more stable and grounded and mature than them. And they do kind of give those people a lot of power and influence in their life. And some of those people are kind of hoping that it is kind of like making those people, in a way, like they want you, just like the devil wants people to view the devil as God. Make me your God. Make me your savior. Don't listen to your creativity. Don't listen to your imagination. Don't believe in a higher truth or justice. If I say something's just and fair or okay, it is. And that's when a problem and a relationship can end. Because the other people are like, I love you, and I could have really looked up to you and respected and admire you. But when it got to be where I was balanced within myself and I loved myself, that also can be where now you have things, resources to offer them. And that can be where some people were kind of, can have a lot of stability and security and be loving in lots of ways, but they haven't healed from some past pain and heartbreak, and that's why they kind of like these more imbalanced type relationships. And now the student has become the teacher, or the child has become someone of wisdom to offer resources to someone else, and that's when somebody doesn't like it. It's kind of like, I might have a lot of stability and security, I might be nurturing and supportive in a lot of ways, but I haven't healed from my past pain and heartbreak. And you did heal. So now it kind of puts it back on me to have to get out of my more prideful, egotistical nature that I'm the teacher, I'm the parent. Now it would be that they would have to can get out of their ego and admit that maybe they have some things to work on or lessons to learn. And that's when the relationship can end, because they don't like that. And they're not willing to see the truth that maybe this is how I like to be in relationships. This is how I like people to view me. And maybe that's why some people, I don't think people who are authentically loving, I think authentically loving people do want people to love and believe in themselves. But that's where, people can seem almost like the same in the world, but what they're motivated and driven by is different. Loving people who everybody could present themselves in the world kind of as this emotionally balanced, stable, grounded, loving person. But the loving people are authentically operating from love, wanting other people to heal and grow and mature themselves and become all that they can be. And those people are happy to keep staying in relationship with them and learning from them. But the other people like to view themselves that way and present themselves that way and could be that way in a lot of respects. But it's kind of like they derive their sense of worth and value from presenting themselves like that, and it's not really from love. And so then when the people do start to heal and grow and mature themselves, then that's kind of when their ego nature kicks in and they don't want to be in the relationship anymore. Now, if people are on the same page, there could be some people that people could be getting in new relationships. Some people could have gotten new relationships. If the people, I kind of look at the house card as the Four of Wands, or people get out of thinking it's just about them and their wants and their needs and their lust and their greed and their pride and their ego. And everybody is truly aligned with wanting to be loving and just and fair. And they're both in this hopeful, believing nature, and they're both willing to detach from the past and exchange resources with the other person in a just and fair manner. Both of them being authentically themselves in the relationship and in an energy of love and expectation that together in this energy, we can give birth to new things in the world that haven't existed before and between us. Because, we've learned the lessons from having been in relationships with people who didn't do that. And for some of you that got out of relationships that were like that, you could have detached, moved forward. You could have communicated with some people in your life that you either previously didn't get in a relationship with or could have ended a relationship with, but you view them as a loving person. But maybe at that point in time in your life, you hadn't learned to love yourself, so you could have rejected them and you could have repeated a pattern of relationship. And that person could have been sad that you ended the relationship with them, whether, again, that's adult children, friends, family, or a romantic interest. And now that you did learn these lessons and learn to love yourself, you could have communicated with some of those people. And I think all the people in your life who you viewed as loving and nurturing and supportive and who truly are loving, nurturing, and supportive people will be happy that you have seen the truth and you've overcome some of your fears and self-limiting beliefs or addictions or whatever they are. But while some people were repeating an old pattern, if it's a romantic interest, some of those people had other people who'd kind of experienced similar situations who viewed them as loving, and they got in a relationship with someone new. And just like some people in your life who at some future point in time might learn some difficult lessons and realize they could have rejected you by the time they want to maybe apologize and communicate that they've grown up and matured themselves, you will be happy for them. But, maybe we could even look at I think some people could be sad because, a relationship did end and they had wanted that relationship in the past to work out, but now they've gotten in new relationships and still could be kind of sad about it, but they maintain balance within themselves. And if they're in loving relationships with other people, they certainly wouldn't reject one loving relationship to get in a relationship with someone else that they'd wished to be in a relationship at one point in time, or had a relationship end in the past. They're going to wish them peace and be happy for them. And keep investing in the people they're in their life with, because if they were to turn their back on those people to, we don't want to be tempted to kind of be in shadowy energy, like, oh, let me love you now. And, because the whole thing is, if people moved on ahead of us, they probably, and just like you moving on from some people in life, they had learned some life lessons or had better self discipline within themselves than we had at that time. And if they were kind of further chapters ahead in learning lessons in life, they're probably even further ahead on learning some lessons in life. And just like we in relationship to some people in our life, and we wouldn't want to turn our back on the people that have gotten into new relationships with, because those people would be sad. Why would we go invest in someone we view as loving if we're already in a loving relationship? We'd wish those people peace, and we deal with the fact that we're glad that they're not in shadow energy anymore. Might be a little sad that, we'd wanted to be in a relationship with them at one time, but, we're not in that place anymore. We kind of emotionally detach from that place. Now, sometimes we can all have some lessons learned, and people are kind of going on, we get in relationships with people and we kind of go on parallel paths, and sometimes we can meet up again in the future. If any of you have detached because you learned some difficult lessons and you did this work to love and believe in yourself and get balance within yourself, you could have made an offer to someone who you think either moved up on ahead of you, or someone who you think, I don't know, is someone who would be more willing to work with you in a more balanced manner. That maybe you wonder, are you in a relationship that's, because you can meet people. This could be someone you just met that you don't even know anything about their life. You don't know if they're in a relationship. You don't know if they're in a happy relationship. But you could sense maybe that they're an upstanding person and they would be somebody you'd be interested in getting in a relationship with. If they are kind of went on a parallel path like you, are they willing to detach from whatever they need to detach with, or their own lack mentality, or their own egoic nature, or did they get in relationships with people similar to you? And are they willing to get out of that relationship and kind of speak their truth and do the work to get balance within themselves to believe they deserve love? And some of those people will do that, and some of those people won't do that. We can all be really manipulated if we get in, because it could be the same thing. Well, it kind of seems silly to say that, but we can all get in friendships and relationships and be moving forward in our life in a certain direction, and then we realize that we could have gotten into it because we did feel left out in the cold, or because we were in grief about some ending that occurred in our life, or we hadn't healed. And then when other people make us an offer, and then it's like, shit, I wish I'd done that work within myself, but I didn't. I kind of maybe operated in my ego, and now I could have gotten in a relationship, and it could have a lot of the things of the world that are beneficial, but, and I think if they were able to do the work, and it takes time and effort, you don't just get balance within yourself one day, it takes putting in work and effort throughout years to learn these lessons and love yourself. And some people are really sad that they didn't put in that work and effort, because some people that they really would kind of like to be in a relationship with could have made them an offer, but they're not there yet. Or because they got into some situations, maybe where people are indulging them or they're indulging someone else, or, there's a pride and ego and image and all those things to deal with. Some people might not be willing to get out of those things or living their life that way, even if it's just been a life of kind of being used to indulging themselves in the world and their ego. And it's like, shit, I'd have so many lessons to learn about working through all this to be at that more, letting love be what drives my life than all these other things that might drive my life. Because the poverty card I view as the Five of Pentacles, really high energy emotionally, of like the Empress energy would be more like a Ten of Pentacles, someone who's really done this work to get balance within themselves and maybe has learned all these really hard lessons. And maybe while we were off learning some of our lessons, other people kind of went off path. So I think regardless of who does move forward with you, who doesn't move forward with you in life, I think you're in an energy of, I wish you all peace. Everybody's got their life to live. Everybody can be at different places at different times. And some of you could be sad that some people aren't willing to detach from some old ways of being, to transform their life and make their life more about looking at life from a higher perspective, getting out of the ego, getting out of the fear, getting out of the insecurity, to do love. But you're going to give birth no matter what. I think this would be saying is that the energy of love is like you being in alignment with life-giving energy. And because you've aligned with that free will choice, which is a gift, because to choose love and to be loving is a free will choice. And it's kind of like a gift we give to ourselves that's available to us. I think your sadness will come to an end, because I think there will be some people who do move forward with you, and I think there will be some people who don't. And for the people who don't, you'll be able to emotionally detach from them and give birth to something new, because you're ready to give birth to a new way of living your life. And other people aren't ready to give birth to a new way of living life because they just maybe haven't learned the lessons that you've learned. So because you're ready, this card being kind of like the Empress card, emotionally, it's like being pregnant. You can't have this dream of these things you want to give birth to and hold back labor indefinitely. It needs to come into reality. And for the people who've been putting in all this work and effort to do that, regardless of who comes with and who doesn't, you're going to give birth to something new. And when we give, just like childbirth, it will be a blessing in your life, because it's kind of like a reward for detaching from some of your fears, your insecurities, your lack mentality, your more immature codependent nature, and you're ready to go to the next level of life and learn the lessons you're meant to learn at that stage of life, becoming all that you can be. So what's coming up for the high vibe people that they might not see coming? The Five of Wands and the Queen of Wands. Well, for one, I think for the people that are at this stage kind of right now waiting to give birth to that new thing, it is causing them some inner conflict, is what the Five of Wands talks about. But you're offering yourself high vibe. They're two cards of Leo energy. You're offering yourself high vibe, loving energy to keep dealing with your inner conflict about some people in your life or the world in general that seem to have a lot of inner conflict about love and being authentically themselves. And they're kind of operating from ego or fear or insecurity, whatever. And, it causes you some inner conflict that they choose to act that way. But you're in such more high vibrational energy. Some people in your life might be learning lessons in their more worldly, egoic nature. And like I say, we got to learn lessons, letting our heart run our life, letting our mind run our life, letting our pentacle aspect of self run our life. You could have completed a chapter in life about dealing with your own inner conflict, about being more authentically yourself in the world, kind of shining your light in the world, not letting negative energy and negative people and your own shadow nature, they got to be in the back seat of your life, because you're letting love be in the driver's seat of your life. And so you've kind of conquered that lesson in life, but other people still could have a lot of inner conflict about being authentically themselves, believing in themselves, loving themselves, and they still have to learn some lessons about that. They could be in their ego, they could still be quite competitive, they could still have a lot of inner conflict that they're not dealing with. The other way this also can be read is that all the people who are doing this work within themselves, the fives talk about change. And you've done this work within yourself, because really the only person we can change is ourself. Everybody else has to make their free will choice about how they're going to live their life and what they're going to align with in their world. And you've changed. If you previously you could have been in your more egoic worldly nature, and you're more now, and that could have been the last piece to your puzzle, because the Empress energy does represent harnessing all four queens of the deck, having learned these emotional lessons that we needed to learn, and the Queen of Wands was your last one to learn. And when you kind of, again, it could have been that you were a loving, nurturing person and you just kind of realized, I can offer people love and encouragement, but I need justice and fairness also. Does God, the devil was kind of like the rising star. What was it? The morning star is what the devil was called in the Bible, and the most whatever angel. Did God love the devil? Yeah, but if the devil was going to be bossy and selfish and immature and controlling and egotistical, yeah, they had to distance themselves. And until, we have to love ourselves enough to believe that I deserve justice and fairness, not people who are trying to fight with me and compete with me and get me in my ego and get me defensive and basically trying to manipulate me, not using an energy of love. And I'm not going to deal with people who aren't operating from a foundation of truth and love and justice and fairness and authenticity. And I think for some of you, that was your last lesson to learn on this phase of life, to be able to give birth to something new. And there might be a lot of people that have a lot of inner conflict about that, because they feel left out in the cold and they're in despair because you transformed your life and they didn't put in the work and effort to get out of their ego to transform their life. And the Five of Wands comes after the Four of Wands. There could be some people that harness some high vibe Aries energy who are kind of firing on all four cylinders like you, because the counterpart to the Empress, someone who's emotionally mature, is someone who takes action in the world from that same energy. They are a true counterpart to you. Again, whether you're male or female, whether that person is male or female. And the Four of Wands is Aries energy, which Aries energy becomes the Emperor energy, which is your counterpart. Some people would like to be your counterpart, but they're still emotionally manipulated by their ego. Other people are offering love to their inner conflict. So in their Aries energy, they can take this bold, brave, confident action within themselves to change and to have a new beginning with you. So, the people in your life that are able to get out of get out of their ego will communicate with you that they want to have a new beginning with you. And the people who don't won't. What's coming up for the people who are in a shadowy Pisces energy? The Five of Pentacles, because of the Ace of Cups. Well, the Five of Pentacles, which is kind of like this poverty card, some things they didn't see coming up was that some people would detach because the Five of Pentacles moves away from the Four of Pentacles, and the Four of Pentacles can be clinging to this old way of being. And some people have learned the lesson they were meant to learn from that stage of life, and they're willing to detach from it and move forward in the energy of love. And that could have been the lesson they learned, to detach from their more worldly view of life or fearful view of life, or to move forward in the energy of love. And they didn't see that coming. And sometimes shadowy people turn their back on loving people because the loving people want them to deal with the things that kind of imprison them, and they don't want to do it. And they think, if I turn my back on the loving people, they'll be sad because I know they love me. I think I'll try to manipulate them to do the relationship the way I want. And I think if they keep trying to move forward in life and maybe get in other relationships that don't work out the way they thought, or they're just sad, eventually they'll want to quit being sad, and eventually they'll be willing to invest in me again and move forward the way I want to move forward, which is more in this worldly perspective of life. And for some of them, that didn't work out the way they thought. The other people move forward and detach from them, and they're going to have new emotional beginnings in their life. And they didn't think they would do that because they don't ever do that. Another thing that another thing they didn't think would happen is that they would be left out in the cold. Sometimes people in shadowy energy are kind of full of themselves. I bet, I might have this status or this image, or I was very loving and nurturing to them. I know they have a deep emotional commitment to me. I know that they viewed me as loving, even though maybe towards the end I could have been intimidating, controlling, or emotionally cold, or detached. I could have been all these shadowy ways of being, basically trying to get you in your competitive energy and your egoic nature to make you do the relationship the way they wanted. They didn't think they were going to be left out in the cold. And for some of them, they do. And you've wished them peace and you've moved on. And now they're in despair because they see the truth. You really have completely emotionally detached. Another thing they might not see coming is that there is someone else who feels left out in the cold, who is willing to get in a relationship with them. The only problem is they are the exact same person they were in the last job or relationship. And if they were kind of at a workplace, if they were kind of immature and petty and competitive and like a dark cloud, they can go get another job, hire a new employee, but eventually the way they are is going to come out again, and the same problems will happen again. And if they get in a relationship with someone who has hope and faith and belief and love, the same scenario is going to play out. Or has hope and faith and belief in themselves, in justice and fairness. People are going to quit those jobs. People are going to get out of those friendships and romantic relationships. If someone comes towards them that has the same mentality they do, well, now they're dealing with someone who's kind of motivated and inspired by money and materialism, or status and image, or indulgence, or let's both stay in our fear and insecurity, let's both stay in our addiction. And it could kind of seem like a gift, like, oh my gosh, this is just what I wanted. Somebody who feels left out in the cold, who doesn't love and believe in themselves, or someone who is more worldly focused, like I'm worldly focused. Finally, someone who's on the same page as me. The only problem is now we could have two people in a relationship that don't love and believe in themselves, who haven't healed from past pain and heartbreak, and who maybe might like to keep their emotions buried beneath the surface, and who might live more from their ego and be a little more emotionally shallow and superficial. And I think they'll end up being sad because they could have thought, you know, if they try to repeat the same pattern with someone else, it's going to end the same way. If that person is a loving, nurturing person who just had something happen in their life where a relationship didn't work out, and this person can get them to get in a relationship with them, same thing's going to happen. Different person, different job, whatever. They're the same person they were. If they get, and I think if they get in a relationship with someone like themselves, they might have all the money and the status and the image, but if you don't have love, it's like a resounding gong. And people can feel like they missed out on an opportunity in love because they weren't willing to change. They weren't willing to face their fears and insecurities and deal with their past pain and heartbreak and self-limiting beliefs. So basically finding themselves probably repeating a pattern of relationship, because why don't they have hope and faith and belief in themselves? Why don't they believe in love? Probably because they might have dealt with some people, maybe even when they were children, who kind of lived their life like that, and they haven't healed from it. And as long as they don't heal from it, they could end up getting in relationships where they repeat that same type of relationship, and it's trying to get them to see, you need to love you, or this is this repeating loop of hell over and over and over again. When are you going to give birth to something new? You can try to give birth to getting in a new relationship. Look, I move forward. Look how victorious and successful I am. Look, but if you haven't changed and aligned with love, you're kind of planting the same seeds in the next job or relationship that you planted in the last relationship, and that relationship didn't work out. Where do you need to grow and mature yourself? Is it that you need to learn to love yourself? Is it that you need to get more balance within yourself? Is it that you need to be willing to put in some work and effort to be more just and fair in a relationship? Do you think you should be indulged and pampered in a relationship, male or female? The truth sets us free. And some people have inner conflict about illuminating the truth. High vibe Leo energy is represented by the sun. And that's what could keep some people from getting into some relationships with some loving people in their life, because they'd have to illuminate the truth. And their ego's like, nope, not going to do that. I'm just going to go present myself as loving to someone else who might feel left out in the cold and get in a relationship with them. And it probably won't turn out the way they thought it was going to turn out. And other people, even though they might have some inner conflict, they are going to illuminate the truth. And the people who are willing to love and believe in themselves and stand in their truth to get the justice they deserve, which is loving, encouraging, supportive relationships. And if they know loving, encouraging people in their life, or, first they got to align with that within themselves, and then they take that gift with them out into the world to go find other people that are on that same page. And other people are willing to do that and admit, I could have been immature. I could have growing up to do. I could have been about indulging myself. I could have been more materialistically motivated than love motivated. And the high vibe people are willing to admit and illuminate the lessons they've learned. Life's all about learning lessons. We got tons of lessons to learn in this world. Are we going to keep letting our ego, like we're some picture perfect person who doesn't ever make a mistake? Well, then you're one of the only infallible people in the world. And some people have put a lot of work and effort into trying to create this image of who they are. And when they do make a mistake, that they can be very sad that they made, they're just unwilling to get out of their ego to admit that they made a mistake, because they've cultivated this image that they have. And their image of who they are is more important than admitting I'm a fallible human being who makes mistakes. And I choose truth and love and justice and fairness and being accountable for the actions and growing up and maturing myself. And I think people generally applaud that type of behavior. But, when we're in our egoic, shadowy nature, we might let some loving relationships end because we're unwilling to get out of our ego. And other people aren't willing to let a relationship with loving people end. And they are willing to get out of their ego and speak their truth. So there you go, Pisces energy. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.